Okay, it's now 7 o'clock. I'd like to call this regular meeting of the German Township Trustees to order. Would you rise for the pledge of allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mr. Easton, could we have the roll call, please?
Yes, good evening, everyone. Dr. Cross here. Mr. Stubbs here. Mr. Potter here. All are present.
I'm going to change the order a little bit this evening. I'd like to first introduce Chief Birch to introduce our newest police officer, Austin Stevens.
Tonight, we're going to swear in Austin Stevens as a full-time police officer, level 3. This is to replace myself, who was promoted to chief, Officer Jones, who's promoted to sergeant, and Matt Oben.
Yeah. All right, before we do that, I need a resolution number.
Yes, we do. Number 50.
I would like to introduce resolution 2024-50, a resolution to hire Austin Stevens as German Township Police Officer at a step level 3.
Second. Any discussion of the resolution? Hearing none, I will call the roll. Dr. Cross?
Yes.
Mr. Stubbs?
Yes.
Mr. Potter?
Yes.
Resolution 2024-50 is adopted.
All right, let's swear you in. Come on.
This is part I always struggle with, so best of luck to you.
Fair enough.
All right, so just repeat after me
Stand in front of the camera.
in front of the camera. In front of the camera.
Oh, let's get the camera.
Does that not adjust up?
You got you.
All right, so raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Austin Stevens,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
to support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and will faithfully discharge the duties of police officer
and will faithfully discharge the duties of police officer
of German Township in Montgomery County, State of Ohio,
of German Township, Montgomery County, State of Ohio,
during my continuance in office.
during my continuance in office.
By acknowledging my oath of office,
By acknowledging my oath of office,
I am subscribing to the German Township Police Department's
I am subscribing to the German Township Police Department's
mission to proudly serve the community with integrity,
mission to proudly serve
proudly serve the community with integrity,
the community with integrity,
dedication and honor,
dedication and honor,
by continued commitment
by continued commitment
to excellence in all aspects of police service,
to excellence in all aspects of police service,
through innovation,
innovation,
community policing,
community policing,
increased training,
increased training,
and education.
and education.
And at all times,
And at all times,
I will strive to demonstrate by example
I will strive to demonstrate by example
my commitment to honesty,
my commitment to honesty,
fairness,
fairness,
compassion,
compassion,
morality,
morality,
and professionalism.
and professionalism.
All right, congratulations.
You can make it through that oath.
It's the worst part. That is the worst part.
This process has been ongoing for several months. Typically, we have them swear in their uniform, but Austin just passed his state test today. So I need you to promise me when you first put this badge on, you have your wife pinned on your chest.
This
All right.
will do.
There you go. And congratulations, buddy.
You want to get a picture of you too?
Yeah, let me get a picture with you.
Yep. So you all did a hear with Officer Stevens and stick around, but you don't have to. So-
And they're gonna take them to the other side.
Oh, you know, there was such good.
We'll see you.
All the sergeants. Good. Next, I'd like to recognize Jeff. Is Steve going to be here tonight? Steve, can you make it up front? So there, we're going to request the police department's assistant during the 11th annual Twisted Pretzel Bike Tour on 9/28/24.
Correct.
Just say your name and address.
Jeff Dondero, 6793 Diamond Mill Road,
Thank you.
town. Okay.
Go
I'd
for
like
it.
to welcome Police Chief, first time I've seen you as chief. Welcome.
Thanks, sir.
And that was special seeing this ceremony, so thank you. He looks like a fine young man, and we'll be looking forward to seeing him around town, around the township. Like I say, this is a courtesy call, Lions Club. We're just letting you know, the 28th, we will be running our annual Twisted Tour, Twisted Pretzel Tour. We were just at Jackson Township, kind of letting them know. And we expect with good weather, another good crowd. So we don't see any changes to the course. We noticed that the Dam Hill,
It's been
Dam
paid.
Hill's been paved, as has Clayton. So that's all good stuff. That's a rough road for everybody. And so we're very pleased. If any of you have any questions?
Is the route changed from past years?
No.
For us to where you want our guys?
No.
Okay.
We've changed some downtown. Okay, we're trying to do some things to deal with some of the congestion that we have at start,
Okay.
but the long haul is pretty much the same.
So you're still wanting somebody at the bottom of the hill here at the bridge? Is that typically where they had us?
Oh, that's
The answer is yes.
the answer. is
I
yes.
assume.
Okay, oh, you're talking on,
Creek
Road.
Road, right at
Creek
the
Road.
bottom of the hill.
correct.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we're going to be talking to Germantown to get us one more right there at Cherry Street. Because everybody's going like this to cross the bridge. And then there's one route that comes up, then crosses Cherry and goes up.
Okay.
And that's always been a pinch point. And so we're going to be asking for a police officer there because we also have traffic that every once in a while shows up. So we'll handle the bikers, keeping them square.
Yeah.
Okay. But we need something that can help the traffic, and that's going to be Germantown. Okay.
You all set with where you need to be?
Well, I'm not. I don't have any information on it. So if you could email me the route
Okay.
and where you need an officer from us,
Right.
that would help me out.
There's 8 routes, excuse me, 4 routes.
Okay.
We go along one, we go all the way up into Cumberland County. Yeah, and circle back around and come by Cypress Church there and work our way back. That's the long route. Short route kind of comes up, goes to Farmersville a little bit, and comes back. Got one that goes to the dam and back. 12 out. What's 12?
It just goes on the bike path to the dam and back.
Okay.
The short one, the 8 mile.
Okay. But the routes are the same. So,
Yeah, if I could just get that, that way I can know the specifics on where I need to have an officer and what times.
okay, yeah. We start at 8. And usually we're done, we try to be done by noon, but we've had people kind of dabble a little bit, so it's gone a little longer. We'll be pulling our stewards right around noon. Okay?
All right, Jeff, thank you very much for coming up.
Just let you know that our friend up on top of the hill on Diamond Mill is so far good to his word. And he has been hauling some equipment up there, so we don't know what's going on, but we're watching him.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have any other visitor comments?
You got. Raj, you want to do the beginning?
If no other visitor comments, Niraj, you want to come up and state your name and address, and if you want to make a statement, then we'll kind of open it up for questions.
Yeah, Neeraj Tani, I am not a citizen of Sherman Township. I am in Miami Township, but I am your state senator. Mr. Stubbs asked me to come by and talk a little bit about the state capital bill that was just passed in June. A seemingly popular topic. I'm sure you've read the Dayton Daily News, and let me first thank you by doing the professional thing and having a substantive discussion, instead of what some others have done. So let me just take a step back from a historical perspective and talk about, state funding as a whole, and then I'll zoom into the state capital bill. The state of Ohio is funded through two budgets, actually 5 budgets when we really talk about it, but in 2 different funding cycles. In the odd year, we do an operating budget that operates the state of Ohio, and local governments are funded through that operating budget through the local government fund, right? Which was controversially cut in 2011. I was not there in 2011. I've submitted a variety of amendments throughout the last 10 years to try to increase the local government fund back to its 2011 levels. It's about $600 million. It was lowered about $300 million. We've been unsuccessful largely in doing that, but traditionally that's how the state assists local governments, is through that local government fund, right? And there may be, certain special dedicated funds of different, grants that the federal government gives us, et cetera, but large in part, that's how we fund local governments, Medicaid, education, our prison system, et cetera. And then in that same funding year, in that odd year, we do the transportation budget, which is to basically allocate gas tax money. Also through that 40 cents of the dollar of the tax dollar collected by the state of that gas tax dollar goes to local governments and is distributed, to counties, townships, cities from that. Also how we fund local governments. The other 2 budgets are more minor. It's the industrial combustion budget and the Bureau of Workers' Compensation budget. You all as an employer are affected by that, but fairly indirectly, I would say. And then in the odd years, we do a state capital budget, and the state capital budget is really to fund construction primarily at K through 12 schools, higher education, and state buildings and prisons. There's been an issue in the Valley View schools for many years now about the levy, right? And so the state capital bill affects that, right? And, West Carrollton had theirs. They passed a levy. I was able to help secure them, their funding after that. And the state sort of matches those levy dollars, et cetera. But that is a primary use of the state capital bill. But because the state in that state capital bill, which is done during election years, during even numbered years, the year they were in, many years ago, we're talking decades ago, legislators said, well, we should do something for citizens, right? For the community, if you will. And if we're going to fund state buildings, we should do some. And so historically, over at least the last decade, that pot has been between 100 million and 150 million. Prior to about 10 years ago, the purpose was twofold. To fund the arts, capital funding for the arts. So if you think about the Dayton Art Institute, you think about Victoria Theater, to fund arts as well as funded through the operating budget. We have the Ohio Arts Council, right? So if you have an arts organization, they can apply for operating dollars through the Ohio Arts Council. But then the capital funding for the arts was funded through this $150 million pot. The other use for that $150 million pot was economic development. So, if there was a development project, if there was an economic development project, things that might attract economic development, think entertainment, et cetera, these things were funded through this $150 million capital bill. Over the last 10 years, there's been what I will call a little creep in that it's sort of become, yes, arts, yes, economic development, but kind of any project that anybody wants to submit that has what's called a state nexus. So you have to be able to approve, the funding has to go through a state agency, so there has to be some sort of nexus with the state. Montgomery County on average has received between $6 and $7 million. Have been successful over the last decade in creeping that up to $7 million. We've been fairly successful at that. So in other communities, the way those projects are submitted is directly to the legislator. Dayton has a unique process through the Dayton Development Coalition and what they call PDAC, the Priority Development Advocacy Committee. Got that acronym right. And they sort of vet these projects. There's a community committee of community leaders, elected leaders, et cetera. And they vet these projects and then give them to us. And we would prioritize our lists, typically as a delegation. In recent history, that has sort of become more individualized, and submit these projects to the leadership, right? And in doing this, typically we get invited to tour projects, to see them, to ask questions, to vet them, et cetera, right? And so, that is how it has been historically done. So over the last 10 years, I've done 4 of those capital bills. We've, received now, excess of $25 million for Montgomery County for projects. This year was very different. In the operating budget, the state of Ohio last year in 2023 had a $717 million surplus. Historically, as I am a Republican, I vote conservative, and in the past, my colleagues have been too. Historically, we have done a couple of things with that. Either you sort of give that to a state priority. So, for example, in Governor DeWine's first budget, he wanted to fund mental health in schools. And so I think about 250 million of that went to hiring mental health counselors in schools, right? It's in the operating nature of things. Large in part, surpluses have been used to fund tax cuts. Income tax cut, something that was invented maybe 6-8 years ago, called the small business deduction, et cetera, et cetera. And that is something I obviously favor. Is look, if hardworking citizens, including the citizens of German Township, they're paying their state sales tax, they're paying their state income tax. Hardworking German Township business owners are paying their commercial activities tax, right? Our community banks are paying their financial institutions tax. All of these things go to make up the state operating budget. And so if we as electeds, right, you all have a budget, we have a budget at the state. If there's a surplus, it is my belief that it should be given back to the citizens. Understanding, okay, the governor wanted to fund mental health in schools at the time, it was COVID and we were seeing suicide rates go up. I mean, that felt right to me. But unless there is some sort of crisis like that, we should not spend more than we need to, right? The citizens work hard and we should strive to return their money to them. However, in the state operating budget, that was not the philosophy of the rest of the legislature, the legislative leadership. They created this $717 million fund that they called the One-Time Community Strategic Investment Fund. Okay. And what this was supposed to be, this was not supposed to be an extension of the capital bill. It was supposed to be to fund what they called one-time transformational projects. Okay. Now, very subjective. What I believe is a one-time transformational project could be very different than what another person believes is a one-time transformational project. Obviously, in politics, as I'm sure many things that you all deal with is up to subjective nature of discussion. So was this. However, in practicality, it ended up being an extension of the capital bill. So much so that 26 projects that received capital bill funding also received double funding in the one-time strategic community investment fund. So they got the double dip from the $150 million pot and the $717 million pot. 26 organizations, local governments, park districts, libraries who received capital funding receive more money for that project in the one-time strategic community investment. I feel that is highly inappropriate. And so, my belief this entire time has been that that money should be returned to the taxpayers. And I, because of that, simply could not support any project of using $700 million in surplus dollars for large in part special projects. That is not to say that any one project on its own is not deserving of funding, right? There were many, many projects throughout the community, throughout my district, throughout all of Montgomery County, throughout the Dayton region that were deserving of funding. Many of these projects I've advocated for in the past and gotten them funding in the past. However, we have an up or down vote, right? Just as you can vote to give the Lions Club their, police officer for traffic, you have an up or down vote. There is no, hemming or hawing. There is no haphazard way of doing this. We have an up or down vote. And to me, I work for the taxpayers, right? I'm obviously happy to work with the German Township government. Now, this is unique in that you all are also taxpayers individually, but in this form, we'll call you a government. You are the German Township government. I'm happy to work with you and find agreement where we can. Sometimes we'll disagree. That's okay. We talk it out, right? As we are now. But to me, when I vote for something, my judgment is what is best for the taxpayer. And on this bill, in no way could I support $700 million in taxpayer funding going to special projects. Now, what's unfortunate is they were pulled together in the same bill, right? If it was truly two separate things, if it was truly the capital budget on its own and then this one-time strategic community investment fund, we could have worked on the capital bill, but that is simply not how it occurred. And so, listen, I make no bones about my priorities. My priority is what is good for the taxpayer. In fact, what's become interesting about this is in last year, I'm trying to remember what month, I can't remember what month. Last year, we were expending federal dollars from the American Rescue Plan. And much of that went to local governments. I don't know that, I think there were some population limits, and so I don't know the German Township qualified for those. But I know the city of Dayton did because they were unhappy with me. But I voted against that. I did not feel that, in 2023, right, a couple years after COVID, in my opinion, was finished, we should be expending taxpayer dollars, even if they are federal dollars, to local governments. We've ESSER dollars were school dollars. There's still school dollars out there that haven't been spent because they can only spend them on COVID purposes, right? And so, all of these things occur, but I have always been very upfront with everybody that my priority is the taxpayer. That is not to say that we can't find other avenues, better avenues to fund projects that you may be interested in. I'm happy to have that discussion with you anytime. I think it is hard in the sense that a lot of these projects are diverse, are deserving, right? They are important. There are institutions in Dayton that I've supported funding for in the past that I did not support funding for this time. I feel bad about that, but at the end of the day, my position will always be on the side of the team. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
So I think first of all, I appreciate you coming.
Anytime.
And this is definitely not going to divulge into other situations.
Much appreciated.
So, right. So I submitted a couple of projects to you. One on behalf of they were actually both on behalf of the cemetery.
Right.
For German Township, the cemetery, Germantown altogether.
Was there a water sewer project too?
That was sent by Mr. Easton, right?
Okay.
Did you send the water project?
Yeah.
The water.
We've got a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
So,
the Twin Creek.
It was sent in.
Yes.
I think you said it.
So that one got approved in the House.
I should explain that too. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead and say.
Yeah, so let me just explain that piece. So there is a political, there is, some backstory to the Speaker and the Senate President. So the current Speaker of the House is controversial because he was elected mostly by Democrats. The current Senate President is running for the House and is challenging the sitting Speaker to become Speaker. And so in that sort of political issue, the House preemptively passed a capital bill that typically the Senate President, the Speaker, and the Governor agree on, right? And so they kind of just threw in projects that House members, put in and passed. But that was never, and I think the problem is it sent a lot of people the wrong message, right? Because they're like, oh, well, my project's in the budget, we're good to go. And I think that it did a lot of people a disservice because I don't know that there was an understanding that, no, this was just sort of a political move by the Speaker,
Okay.
which was unfortunate.
Right. So I sent in a project, I emailed it to you, you told me where to send it to. I appreciate that. I think I would have appreciated I'm not going to submit this project because of what you have stated previously. And then just read it in the newspaper or see it on TV later. I think that's
Sure.
That's the question I have.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, so this has come up and this is very interesting to me. And the reason is that, we get 50 to 75 projects, right? And we track them in a spreadsheet. And look, this was a decision-making process in not supporting the bill, but sort of as every month went by, I started as a lead no, and I just solidified that no. And so, I thought a lot about this question. Should I have called through every project submission to let them know my position? And historically, and again, right, and I think something that could have been done better is you all have never submitted a project before. And so I could have maybe explained how it worked. I think part of it is I'm so used to this process that I didn't give it a second thought, right? But I guess my counter would be is that typically if you're going to advocate for a project, somebody would ask to meet with me, right? And if somebody doesn't ask to meet with me, to me, it feels perhaps it's not a priority. And maybe I'm mistaken
I
about it.
didn't know that was possible, actually.
Well,
That we could.
I'm always, yeah, and if I've ever seemed not willing to meet,
No, I'm new at this politics.
no, completely understand. And, COVID, I think also had an impact of, usually I'm very good about touring my local governments. And since COVID, that practice has fell out a little bit, which I regret. And so, I guess, I feel badly, but also what I'm used to is that people are advocating to you, right? So the example I would give is the Lions Club gentleman who just came in, right? You're not like, when he submits an application, you expect him to come and make the request of the police department. You're not calling him necessarily, maybe you are, and saying, hey, right, when a liquor license application comes in, the onus is on them to make the case to you because you're the decision maker. And historically, we are the decision maker in this process, and people who advocate, and I will be honest with you, in the past, historically, people who've advocated strongly tend to get more favor in their ranking.
So did you approve any projects?
No, so I'm saying that this is an exception because I did not feel it was appropriate for me to, on one hand, I hate people who are hypocritical, right? I don't like it when people are hypocritical. It would have been hypocritical for me to say, I want all of this funding, but I'm gonna vote against it. And so I did not. And so again, I thought about this question a lot and, you know, I guess because you haven't submitted a project, I could have perhaps explained the process to you. And if I fell down there, then I am sorry about that. But for your awareness for the future, because I want to help you get the sewer and water money and the cemetery, there's lots of different pots of money everywhere. I'm happy to, you know, but in these processes, traditionally people come to us. And I don't mean to sound, I don't mean to sound a certain way, but people usually advocate to us, right? People come to us and advocate to us when they want funding. And again, this was your first time submitting, and I have historically helped people who their first application through the process. And if I could have done a better job at that, I am sorry for that.
Yeah, because I ended my email to you because we are seeking funding to repair the roadways of the cemetery. Attaches a worksheet that explains our proposal with pictures. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Fair enough. I will say that every email ends with, please let me know if you have questions. And so if I fell down on that, then I apologize, right? But as you know, you have my cell phone number,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it's like if you.
But how many
work
times have I reached out to you and
Not very many. So but I'm
this is
happy.
twice.
Right, but
So I don't try to bother you with.
But it's not a bother, it's my job. And so but I'm human, right? And so if I missed a line in one email, you know, I missed a line in your email that said, please let me know if you have questions. That to me, you know, and so if that is the issue, then I apologize, but also it's one line in one email.
It's two and two, because I did send two.
Understood,
I get that,
but
we're talking one-time transformational projects. When I submit a project for the roadways of Germantown Union Cemetery that exceeds anything we could ever afford, that's a one-time. And I get it, because you get a lot.
and I wasn't talking about your.
No, I know.
I was telling you my position on
Right.
the entire thing, right?
So,
So again, if I was supposed to interpret that a certain way and I did not, I am sorry, because as you know, I make a great effort to be communicative and responsive. And if I fell down, I am sorry, but I'm telling you, my position is we get 75 of these. It's kind of automatic that we get invited for a tour or a meeting and to learn more about the project. And so I think I sort of check box when people submit projects, that's kind of a checkbox of, okay, it's on our radar, it's in our spreadsheet. And then,
but even if I had asked you to come out here, you still wouldn't have submitted our project, even if we went.
also true, that's correct.
Well, that's my
correct.
point, your point that you're not going to support any of this, should you have not let the public know or let us know. So we would not waste our time submitting a proposal to you that you were not going to support.
Yeah,
In any way.
yeah.
I mean, back whenever this was, I don't know, back October, November, should you
Yeah.
have said, I'm not going to support anything, so don't waste my time submitting anything, just go to someone else.
We did definitely spend a lot of time, and I think our presentation was, I don't know if you read the.
Sure.
Ours was.
Yeah, I remember the email and I remember the projects.
So,
So I guess, should I announce my position on every bill that somebody advocates to me before I vote for it? I think that is an interesting question. That's not necessarily a common practice.
Well, when you're talking so much money in this case.
Understood, but I will say that, you know,
The township.
if I misread one email, sort of being unhappy with somebody for misreading an email when you all are elected officials too, right? And, you know, I get people who, I miss emails, right? I'm a person. I try not to. I spend every morning and every evening going through text messages and emails and voicemails. But yes, there are times when somebody calls me twice to get to me, right?
Again, that doesn't, going back to my original question or my original comment, if you were not going to support any of these special projects, wouldn't it have been good to tell the public, I'm not going to support this, so don't waste your time submitting to me, submit to someone else in your district or whoever else?
I think that is an interesting question that I will think about. Nobody
Well,
has.
It's water over the bridge, under the bridge now. I mean,
Well, it's not, because I value our relationship going forward, and would be more than happy to, in things that I support, help you find funding. I mean, this is inappropriate, but I'd be more than happy to help you any way I can, right? But I think that's a reasonable question. I've never presented myself as a perfect person. I operate a certain way. If I don't operate in the way that pleased you, that's why we're here, right? And so you have told me this. I will be happy to ensure to be communicative in that fashion with you all. You know, so look, to me, it's the same way that some people say, hey, schedule through my city manager, right? There are communities around that the mayor doesn't want to meet with me. They just want the city manager. That's fine. If you want a heads up, then that's fine. We can do that. But no, it's not something that I consider.
I mean, there have been some reports that you missed a lot of days of work at the state.
Yeah, that's untrue. I have a 97.8% voting record that I'm very proud of.
That didn't affect approving any of this project.
No, I mean, I voted, you know, the irony is I'm here because I voted against your funding, right? I voted against the bill. And so it's funny for some people to say, oh, okay, you didn't do this, but then we're mad at you because of something you did, right? There's a great irony there.
What was the final vote?
I was the only no vote in the Senate of Democrats or Republicans. And then in the House, there were 7 Republicans who voted no along the same ideological lines that I did.
Did they submit projects?
I have no idea.
I guess maybe it's what could have submitted under protest. That way,
Well,
our
I think,
projects would have still been, had a chance of getting funded. But everybody would have known your position.
a fair point. And I think what we could have done is helped you figure out an alternative way, right?
Actually, no.
That'd been,
Understood, but also I received the submissions and no communication after that, right? No meeting requests, no advocacy, and let's just theorize in a place where I did support and I was going to vote for the bill and submit. I mean, I kind of sort of in my mind require,
that won't happen no more.
yeah,
You will be seeing us.
my phone is always on.
Do you have any other comments?
Yes, Kevin.
Do you have anything?
Senator, first of all, let me say that we've known you ever since my son and your brother played select soccer
I did not know that. Interesting.
back in junior high and
Yeah.
high school. So, we do have some background. You likened this to the state's ARPA money, the extra money. The difference is between this situation and that situation. You know, if we don't spend our ARPA money, or if the state doesn't spend their ARPA money, it goes back to the federal government. And that's where it goes back to. But this money, the 700 million, got spent whether you were in favor of it or not. The fact that you didn't submit any projects for your district meant that money went somewhere else, and somebody else's project got funded. I understand your philosophical objection to it, and I would quite frankly agree with you. It's wasted money. But if the money's going to be spent, I think you owed it to your constituents that you represent to submit projects from the jurisdictions within your district that submitted them to you. I know that we did. I know that Cemetery did. I know the city of Germantown did. I know that other jurisdictions in your district did. And we all lost out because of your philosophical objections. You should have, as was already kind of suggested, should have submitted those projects at the same time saying, I'm going to vote against these projects because I philosophically disagree with it. But you heard us. And we've suffered within your whole district because of this. That is unacceptable to me. And although I voted for you, if you were running again, you would not get my vote again.
Yeah, no, I think I completely respect and understand your position. I disagree. But I think your position makes sense to me and, votes that I take, there are people who are going to agree with my votes and there are people who are going to disagree. I think I voted, in the way that benefits the taxpayers. But I do understand, your critique.
Does anybody have anything new to add? Let's move forward.
May I say some closing comments for us? Thanks. Well, let me first just thank you for holding a substantive discussion, right? I know you've seen in the media some others who've chosen different avenues. I'm always happy to take tough questions. I'm always happy to take criticism. I do not pretend to be perfect. And if there are miscommunications, we communicate. The only thing I would say is that, you all are elected officials. It is also your job to communicate. If you feel, there are people who communicate with me frequently, and I am always happy to. I am on the phone all day long. I email all day long. I text all day long. I go to meetings like this all day long. This is my job. I'm not saying we will always agree. Sometimes we will disagree. But what I can say is that you will always have your ability to make your case to me. And when we agree, I will do my best to advocate for your position on specifically the cemetery projects and the wastewater project. There are many different pots of funding that are dedicated to those purposes that fund cemeteries and fund wastewater. I'd be happy to work with you if Jacob, you and I want to text, or I think Mr. Cross has my cell phone number. I think Mr. Eistan does. Mr. Potter, I can get you my cell phone number. Happy to talk about that and happy to help. Understand we disagree. Mr. Eistan, I hope to re-earn your support. I will work hard at re-earning your support. Maybe that's possible. Maybe it's not. But we will do that regardless. And let me just again thank you for the way you approach this. And I'm always happy to come, obviously, at the first possible time. I will come according to my schedule, but always happy to chat and happy to be of service in any way.
I appreciate you coming tonight. I disagree with
Understood.
what you did, but I do appreciate you
Yeah.
coming because you knew it wasn't going to be pleasant.
You answered some questions and
And I,
things that I did not know.
let me just say this too, understanding in sunshine laws, I can't talk to more than two of you at a time. I can't talk to all three of you at the same time, or I guess I can't talk to two of you. I can talk to one. Okay, that's right.
Okay.
Local sunshine laws, city councils, different, anyways. But my point is, if any of you ever want to talk one-on-one, I'm always happy to do that. We know we have in the past. Mr. Potter, I know we have not had the opportunity, but I'm always happy to, just, give me a call, shoot me an email. I don't have any cards on me now, but Mr. Stubbs can give you,
I got you.
Mr. Potter, my info, and always happy to do that.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I make
Yeah,
my way?
You're good.
All right.
Thank you for coming.
We'll move on to the fiscal officer's report.
I'm going to start out with Fire EMS Chief Dan Aldred, Lieutenant Josh Ford. I know they're here to talk about the project.
Appreciate you guys taking it.
Oh, no. You're busy and we're not gonna take up nearly that much time. But we've come to you with a request, if you will. So, thank you again for allowing us, myself, Lieutenant Ford, I want to say congratulations on your new officer. I think that's fantastic. We enjoy working with the German Township Police Department. They're a professional department and they help us tremendously on calls. So, we're here tonight to talk about one of our most important pieces of personal protective equipment, our SCBA. The one I've got over here is a 2002 version of an MSA air pack. There's been 4 upgrades since this. So these packs are 20-ish years old. They're really recommended to be replaced after 15 years. However, that standard set for all departments across the country. Obviously, we don't run as many calls as a lot of bigger departments, but they still go through wear and tear and eventually need to be replaced. So in November of 2022, all of our air packs are tested annually. They're flow tested and inspected by a third party. In November of 22, they made us aware that parts were no longer being made. In fact, that they were getting scarce, but we were still rolling along pretty good. In November of 2023, we started to have some failures. Parts were not available. So we started investigating into new SCBA. We tried for a grant, which did not work out real well for us. But I'm going to turn this over to Lieutenant Ford because he's really spearheaded the project here. So I'll turn that over to Bill.
I'll just give you guys,
Do you guys want to say your name and address? I'm sorry.
Oh,
Just
yep. Dan Aldred, 75 North Walnut Street, Germantown Fire Department.
Josh Forrest, 75 North Walnut, Township Fire Department. So as Chief said, there's been a couple, what we call standards from this one to that one. The standards is what NFPA uses to make improvements to help keep us safe. Some of the notable ones from that one to that one is the mask, the old version, the voice amplifier, and the heads-up display. So the heads-up display tells us how much air we have left in our bottle as we're going into a fire. So there's little lights that light up. They're different colors for each level of our bottle. And then our voice amplifier. So that's all in the mask. They were able to make the mask a pound lighter that we wear.
So can I?
Yep, go ahead.
So on this mask, we have these appliances, if you will, hanging off either side. So they're bulky. This is generally what gets broke, either the heads-up display or the voice amps, and no longer make either one. With the new mask, everything's actually built into the mask and or the regulator. So they've decreased the weight, they've decreased the possibility of snapping stuff off or getting hung up.
And so that's a big improvement. The shield on our mask, those are rated at 350 degrees. They'll start failing. The new ones are at 500. So it gives us another 150 degrees if we get into a bad environment to get ourselves out and hopefully out safely. The new packs are intrinsically safer, so they have a less chance of causing a spark and causing fire and potentially killing a firefighter if we're in like a hazardous condition such as a natural gas leak, stuff like that. They have integrated Bluetooth, so our radios will actually connect to them. So right now, as Chief showed you, the voice amplifier, we're screaming into those things, trying to talk on the radio. If it's a mayday situation, which is where we get stuck, we get trapped, it's hard to understand. So now the mic that we're talking into in the face piece actually is connected to our radio. So it's clear and concise. So there's no second guessing what we're trying to say. And the heads up display, as we showed you on that one, is also in, like Chief said. He kind of hit on it. The parts are kind of becoming scarce. They've raised the price because they're hard to come by and a lot of people aren't using them and they're not making them. These are now $1,500 a piece if we have to replace one, compared to $500 for the new one. So, and MSA, which is what we currently have, is the only manufacturer for SCBAs that has a one-way valve in their mask. So if we have another outbreak of COVID or any infectious disease, we can actually wear those and be safe, like for a medic call.
So with our old packs, again, 22 years old, we've had parts start to fail. They're heavy, they're bulky. The newest version, obviously 20 years worth of technology. A slightly smaller bottle contains more air to breathe, so we have a longer life inside the structure, if you will. They're lit up in ways that you can see, other people can see us in the dark, so other firefighters going in. They're also made to be adjustable, so the whole back plate will move up and down, take some of the weight off the shoulders, where those things just hang on your shoulders and cause back problems, so on and so forth. There's other technology and more. So what we want to do here tonight is ask you These are capital purchases, obviously. These have lasted 22 years or close to 22 years. So we're asking for, and we submitted a quote to Mr. Heaston to replace our SCBA. The quote we gave you was $191,000 for 20 SCBA, 20 spare bottles, a RIT pack, so on and so forth. We have some good news. As MSA Monday of last week announced a fall promotion. We asked for a new quote through our supplier, and we were actually quoted $176,000. $176,265.
Give me the number again.
176,265 even.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. So again, 20 SCBA, 30 masks. Each person is assigned their own mask. The upgrades are phenomenal. They'll keep our people safer. Like I said, this is one of our, there's two things I teach my new people. Two of the most important pieces of equipment you'll have as a firefighter. Number one is your SCBA, which will protect your body way down the road. So if you're breathing smoke today, it's going to affect you 20 years. We're learning that. So they wear their SCBA on any IDLH or immediately dangerous to life or health situation, whether it be a car fire, house fire, gas leak, hazardous materials, so on and so forth. And then the second most important piece of equipment is the radio, because that's the lifeline to get help. So we rate these very highly. We appreciate our SCBA, but it's time to make the change. The old ones need to be replaced. And we're asking for funding from your holdback fund to help us with our SCBA.
Have you applied for any grants?
We did. We applied for a FEMA grant.
In 23.
Was it an AFG grant? Yeah. Assistance to firefighter grant, and it didn't go.
Have you got any money to put in with it? Do you put any money back from stuff like this in your budget?
We haven't for the SCBA, no. We were hoping that the 10% holdback for capital purchases, these are definitely capital purchases that we could pull from that fund.
Were they budgeted as part of our
No.
4%, 4 mil levy?
But I believe that is in there, yes.
It is in.
Yes, yes.
Because I know we had an analysis from Pat Shively.
Right.
And Andy Stiver, as to how that money would come in and get used.
Correct, correct. Yeah, I think we did have that new SCBA budgeted for in the future. So the deal we got is a good deal. And then when they came back to us with the fall promotion and reduced it by another $15,000, we were both stunned that we're getting that good of a deal. So.
Well, gentlemen, the holdbacks that we currently have, we have two fire funds. The older one, the original fire fund has a holdback of $248,725. And then the 2010 levy fund has a balance in it, holdback of $246,770. So in total, there is almost $500,000 in holdback.
Yeah, I mean, the holdback is for purposes like this, really to protect you guys, is certainly the most important aspect. If we pay down that holdback, are you, if the levy fails, are you gonna need some of that holdback to operate? I mean, I guess it's one of the things you need this, but you may need.
Right. And I understand what you're saying, but we're getting to the point with these where they're not, we may start having to take some of these out of service and they're becoming less reliable. So it's, as a safety standpoint, I would opt to this.
Would 10 suffice instead of 20?
Well,
I'm just asking.
so they're mounted in the apparatus. So that would be difficult to do. We roll pieces of equipment based on what the scenario is.
Okay, so there's approximately $500,000 in that account.
Mhm.
If you've got to replace a fire truck in the next 5 years, that just cut our total.
Right, I understand, but we just bought a $600,000 engine and we didn't get any of that money. So we did that. We actually leased that engine, so there's always the possibility that if we need another piece of apparatus, we could lease that out.
Do you expect any more? Because this is twice in the last couple of months now, we've been, that we're gonna be potentially putting money out. You know,
Right.
looking at any more this year, or is this it?
No, this is it for this year, obviously. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Let me go ahead and introduce resolution 2024-51 to fund the purchase of 20 SCBA units, self-contained breathing apparatus at a cost of $176,000.
265. 176, 265.
Correct.
There's two.
176,000.
Oh, I'm saying,
176, 265.
Yeah.
265, oh,
Correct.
correct. Didn't add the 100 there. Using the holdback funds to pay for them, the trustees authorize at 88,000. So what's half the 265?
Do you want to, in your resolution, want to indicate which fund,
Yeah, that's what I was gonna do, half of each fund.
half in each one? So, okay, just, we can say that half out of Fund 2191, half out of Fund 2193.
Okay. Authorize that half of the cost comes from fire levy fund 2191 and half the cost comes from the fire EMS 2010 fund 2193.
2193, correct. Is there a second to the resolution?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Just last question. If the levy passes, which I think the levy was a little big, but if the levy passes and this was already budgeted in it, where's that money gonna go?
Well, this was not, yes, that was projected. It's not in the 2025 budget.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Dr. Cross?
Yes.
Mr. Stubbs?
Yes.
Mr. Potter?
Yes.
Resolution 2024-51 is adopted. I will need a copy of the proposal.
Sir.
The only thing I had is a one-line email
Yes, sir.
from Ronnie telling me that you were coming.
Okay. Right.
And then she
Certainly.
told me the amount.
Yep.
The form earlier.
Thank you. I appreciate this tremendously.
Well, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you
You're
very much.
Yes. Lieutenant, it's,
Hope this keeps you guys safe.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Well, all of our people will appreciate it. We thank you very much.
Appreciate it all. Everybody had a good night. Take care, Chief.
Thank you. Thanks,
Okay.
guys.
we're going along, Mark.
Moving on to let me turn on my camera.
Okay.
There we go. Moving on to my regular report. First of all, we'll start with the minutes of the July 8th meeting. Does anybody have any corrections or changes they need?
I didn't find anything.
If not, then I have a motion to approve the minutes.
I make a motion to approve the 7/8/24 regular meeting minutes.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. Next, I have given you, as always, the monthly financials for July. And I've given you the fund status report at the end of July, the cash summary by fund for the year to date through the end of July, and then the month of July cash summary by fund, the July receipts and the July payments. And I only have one item I want to note, and that is warrant number 5789 for $2,000 sent to First Church of God. It was a donation you approved last month from the town's trust fund for the Sunshine in a Bag ministry. And today, I just received 2 thank you letters from the First Church of God. which I will pass down, let you both look at, and then I will put them into the official minutes. So if you can have those back, if I can have those back after you look at it. So do you have any questions about the financials?
No, I just, over the weekend, I talked to someone that worked at somebody in charge of the food bank in Dayton, and they do 41,000 meals per day in Montgomery County. So the fact that these guys are doing this locally is impressive, what they're doing. So that's all. I appreciate what they're doing at Sunshine in the Bag. But I have no questions. I'm just asking off topic.
No, that's fine. If there are no other questions, can I have a motion to approve the financial reports for July and also the payment of July bills?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to approve the July financial reports and authorize the payment of July bills, warrants 50783 through 50789 and vouchers 553 through 643 for payroll direct deposit, tax withholdings, and other electronic payments.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. Well, when I wrote my report and sent it to you a couple days ago, I had not yet received the Auditor of State's 2022-2023 agreed upon procedures review, the report for that review that was done several months ago. Just today, we did receive an email from the local auditor's office sending the, I will call it a draft report. It is not yet finalized and not yet filed by the state, but we do have the report. It was held up because of a heavy workload at the, it's in Dayton or this region. But just last week, they reached out to me. They identified several small fund balance adjustments that related to incorrect funds that I use paying some of our elected official benefits during the audit period. We're putting the salaries in the correct funds, but I obviously didn't correct some of the Medicare and those kind of things. Put them in the same funds that the salaries go in. So that's now been corrected. I sent that back up to them. And so that would allow them then to issue the report that we got today. Now, I understand in about 2 weeks, it'll be available on the state website. And then once that happens, we will make sure that there's also a link on our website to get to the audit report. And each of you were copied on that email today. If you haven't seen it already, Dr. Cross, you and I have a document to sign. I think we can sign it individually and send it in. We don't necessarily have to do it together, but if you want to do that, we can do it afterwards. Okay, we'll do that. Okay. On August 7th, I filed a funding application with the Ohio Office of Budget and Management related to our $60,000 grant for the Twin Creek Erosion Project that Senator Antoni was referencing earlier, that we applied through the House, through Representative Young's office, and was included in the capital bill that he voted against. So in doing so, in filing that funding application, I did note that the state is now using July 1st of this year as the project start date. So once again, I am hopeful, but not 100% confident, since the fact that we and the township and the city have already completed that project, we've already paid for the project prior to July 1st. I'm hoping that will not preclude us from receiving the funds. And if we do receive the funds, our 30,000 portion, I will put back into the American Rescue Plan Act fund, and that will be available for other projects. You've obviously approved 2 the last couple of months. One is some police radio updates, and also the painting, which we're going to do here in just a couple of minutes, of the exterior of the building. I also filed, since last month's meeting, and your approval of the national opioid settlement with Kroger. This is the latest of several opioid settlements that the township has received and approved since August of 2021. And so now, moving on, specifically, we'll talk about that $5,000 proposal from Randy King to paint the exterior of the Township Hall. His proposal was to grind and tuck point 280 linear feet of damaged mortar joints, paint 2 coats on 2,588 square feet of block walls in a color similar to the existing color, and paint 100 feet of gutter and downspouts. And you did say last month that you wanted to use the ARPA funds for this non-budgeted project. Now, we received 2 quotes, and this is not the lowest quote. So I think in your resolution, you should make note of the fact that even though this isn't the lowest, it is the best quote because it includes the tuck pointing. The lower price quote did not include tuck pointing. And so it is not lowest and best, it is simply lowest. And I believe we're allowed to take the best if the lowest doesn't give you the proper, what you need for the bid that you're selecting. So I recommend you take this quote from Mr. King, and I've given you the ARPA resolution. It is 3 pages long. You probably don't need to read all of it, but you would definitely want to look at page 3 where the project is outlined and the amount is in there. And we'll make that resolution 52.
Okay, I'd like to introduce resolution 2024-52, authorizing expenditures for the American Rescue Plan Act funds. Whereas the Board of Trustees has identified a project which, in the judgment of the board, qualifies as a permitted use of the ARPA funds in direct support of governmental services, which consist of the following: grind and tuck point 280 linear feet of damaged mortar joints, paint 2 coats on 2,588 square feet of block walls similar to existing color, and paint 100 feet of gutter and downspout. Now, therefore, it is hereby resolved by the board that the township elected to use a standard allowance by way of resolution 2216 in its presumption of revenue loss due to the public health emergency, and use the amount authorized herein to fund government services. The project is hereby authorized and shall be paid for from the ARPA funds, the amount of not to exceed $5,000. And even though this was not the lowest bid, it is the best, as tuck pointing was included in the bid. Project described herein serves the objectives of the act by providing services traditionally provided by a government. Accordingly, the project is in the best interest of the township and is deemed priority for the community. No obligations paid under the authority of this resolution were incurred prior to March 3rd, 2021.
Second.
Not quite done. I got one more. Be it further resolved. Thank you. Be it further resolved that is hereby found and determined that all formal actions of this township concerning and relating to the adoption of this resolution were adopted in an open meeting of the township trustees, and that all deliberations of the township trustees and any of its committee that resulted in such formal action or in a meeting open to the public in compliance with all legal requirements, including section 121.22 of the Ohio Revised Code. That's it.
Now, have a second. Thank you. Any discussion of the resolution? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Dr. Cross?
Yes.
Mr. Stubbs?
Yes.
Mr. Potter?
Yes.
Resolution 2024-52 is adopted. And as with all purchases using ARPA funds, the federal guidelines require us to have a contract addendum signed by the contractor. Ms. Potter, are you going to work with Mr. King?
Yes, I will work with them and get hold of them, tell them that we approved it, and it'll get on the schedule.
You need the addendum, or do you still have one from the last time?
No, it'll be fine.
Chief, there's someone you need. Okay, thank you very much for handling that for me. Okay, next item. We recently received an email from Wright State University Libraries Special Collection and Archives. Apparently, they are the custodian of old township records dating back to the 1800s. And I sent you a list of the records they are holding. They've been holding these records under an agreement with the State Archives of Ohio. But Wright State has now decided to withdraw from the state agreement, and they've asked the trustees to decide if you want these old records returned to us, which I hope you don't, or if we would like them transferred to the custody of the Ohio History Connection in Columbus. And I think you should do your decision using a resolution, and I do recommend that you transferring them to the state. And thanks to Dr. Cross, we have a written resolution that can be used.
Yeah, and I also talked to Tony Bose, who is actually part of Wright State, part of this office. So I asked her if there was any cost to us, to the township. You know, they're going to charge us a cost to transfer them or a cost for the state to house them. And there is no cost to the township, so that's good. So I'd like to introduce resolution 2024-53.
53.
A resolution to authorize the Wright State University Libraries to transfer records to the state archives of the Ohio History Connection in Columbus. Whereas government records from German Township, Clerk of Trustees, and Justice of the Peace dating back to the 1800s are on deposit at the Wright State University Library's Special Collections and Archives. And whereas the records were entrusted to Wright State in connection with the Ohio Network of American History Research Centers system created in 1970. Whereas on June 24th, 2024, Wright State University decided to withdraw from the ONAHRC membership. Whereas Wright State Libraries gave German Township the option of returning these records to our offices or transfer the records to the custody of the state archives of the Ohio History Connection in Columbus. Now, therefore, it is hereby resolved that the German Township trustees approve the transfer of local government records of German Township, Clerk of Trustees, and the Justice of the Peace to the custody of the state archives of the Ohio History Connection in Columbus.
I'll second.
Thank you, Dr. Cross. Thanks again for writing that. Any discussion of the resolution?
You want to send them back, but I think it's perfectly good safe sitting right here.
And I did access these records when I was doing some research on the Fouts Fund, went to Wright State.
Did you
Look
really?
at some of the vouchers, so they're just big books, but again, who has the room for it?
That must be a lot of boxes.
Yeah.
Given the list that they provided to us. Any further discussion? I'll call the roll. Dr. Cross?
Yes.
Mr. Stubbs?
Yes.
Mr. Potter?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Resolution 2024-53 is adopted. Okay. Well, this next item actually deals with Senator Antoni.
Which I would like to say, I invited him before you sent me this email. He responded today that he would be able to make it, so
I appreciate that he came.
I do too.
He answered some questions that I didn't like me at least in the process. So,
Well, I think he dodged a lot. My question. Why didn't you let us know?
It was very calculated what he said.
yeah,
I do appreciate him coming and standing up here because that's not an easy thing to do. And you know, it's a hostile
environment.
environment.
I agree with all of that. So as you probably are aware, Miami Township did pass a resolution on July 9th requesting that Senator Antoni resign his position for failing to submit the projects that they submitted as part of the capital budget bill. And I did send you a copy of their resolution. I received that from Chris Snyder last week. So Senator Antoni then next appeared before the Miami Township trustees, kind of like what he did tonight with us back on August 7th, and explained his decision not to forward the projects submitted to his office was due to his opposition for spending the $700 million. And Senator Antoni said what I had also researched, that he was the only senator to vote against the capital budget bill. And I stated my opinion to him, which I fully believe. He failed his constituents by not submitting the projects that for the jurisdictions that he represents, including our township. If he opposed the process and voted against the bill, that's one thing. But not submitting projects, he didn't stop the money from being spent. Those funds were simply allocated to other projects elsewhere in the state. And he said that would have been hypocritical to submit the projects. I 100% disagree.
You have to do it under protest.
Absolutely. So if you have any interest in expressing your displeasure with him, similar to Miami Township and potentially the city of Centerville. I've given you a proposed resolution, which you can use or you can modify in any way you would like. And
Wow.
if you decide to use it, make that number 54.
After listening to him, it's really my fault for not reaching out further after I submitted the original project. So
I don't believe you think it's your fault.
I know, it's your
I
fault.
think there was
I
just hundreds of projects and he expected each one to come and see him. The king.
It's laughable what he's told us.
Well, I mean, is he really that Miss Pauling? I mean, no, he doesn't want to. Yeah, a little frustrated because I had texted him originally, where can I submit this? And he gave me his email address, which was his personal email address, not his state one, which I thought was interesting too. But doesn't he also have a staff that could answer our questions and reach out to us? It's not him specifically. So while I am happy that he came, and I understand what he's saying and as his basis for opposing it, I completely disagree that he failed to submit projects for, how many senators are there? 33?
Something like
Something
that.
like that.
Something like that.
So that's a big chunk of Ohio that didn't get projects submitted. If he's 1 out of 33, and that's disappointing. Especially when we're talking one-time transformational project. I can't think of a more transformational project than the roadways at our only active cemetery in our community, and submitting it on behalf of German Township, Germantown, and as well as the cemetery. That's 3 government entities that my project that we spent a lot of time on, and pictures and everything included, that we had put into that. So
When we learned that he had not submitted those, I know that Mr. Potter submitted our township one to Senator Huffman's office, Senate President. And he immediately got a response from Senator Huffman's assistant. Yeah, so yes, Senator Antoni could have, through his assistant, reach out to us.
that's where not having it sent to his official government one, I think I'm not sure why he had me do that. So, but that way I guess his staff doesn't see it, I'm assuming, when it goes to his personal email address and not his government, whatever that email address is.
I think he has no intention of stepping down before the end of his term.
I think you're correct.
So I mean, we could do this, but
It'll have no power.
it'll have no power, it'll have no early effect on it.
But it could muddy the water for us.
If you decide to adopt the resolution, I will send a copy to his office.
I know, but that could hurt us for any kind of help in the future, as long as he's in.
Yes,
So he's only there till December 31st.
First of all, we're leaving the district that he's part of, we won't be part of starting in January. But even if we were, it'll be a different senator in January. So, I mean, I don't get a vote here. If you want to use it, fine. If not, we'll move on.
I think it's, at this point, it's kind of, why do it, I guess, I don't know,
I don't necessarily think we need to make a resolution to ask him to resign, but I think we could make a resolution in opposition to his decision.
Actions.
So I'll write one up for next meeting.
Perfect.
Making a note. Okay. Reminder to all township employees, including each of you, that everyone in the township needs to complete the new state required fraud reporting training. And completing the training involves watching an 8-minute video, then downloading a certificate of attendance, and then signing an acknowledgement form. I need to receive copies of both the certificate and the acknowledgement form from all employees no later than September 28th. And then going forward, this training needs to be repeated every 4 years.
Can I ask where the acknowledgement form is? Because I did the video, I sent you the certificate, and I have no, I've looked, and unless I missed it, I don't know.
It's one of the attachments where the
It's
link
like the
is.
last page, it's the
Yeah,
local government or whatever.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's on the same website homepage.
I'll find it.
There are actually two forms, one
Okay.
for state employees, one for local employees.
Okay.
You want to use the one for local government employees. Okay. I guess my last item of business is to just let you know that there is going to be a Montgomery County Township Association meeting held this time at the offices of Jefferson Township. And it'll be on August 22nd. And they're not doing an evening meeting this time. They're back to 4 o'clock for this one. And since Mr. Keener is in the room, I want to wish you a happy birthday. I believe this is number 62.
Officially sign up for social security.
Huge.
How exciting.
Yes.
So I hope you've had a good birthday.
Yes, I have. Thank you.
And with that, I am done.
Thank you, Mr. Easton. All right, police department report.
Thank you, sir. Last month, Durham Township officers drove a total of 5,864 miles. We were dispatched on 106 calls and we closed 106 cases. We had 8 case follow-ups, 1 arrest, 395 business checks, 27 vacant house checks, and 905 occupied house checks. We had 10 crashes, 31 traffic stops, and 18 citations. With our radio project, there's kind of 2 phases. Phase 1 was the portable radios. The link layer authentication software for portable Motorola radios have been updated at a cost of $1,016 for the patches and $720 for labor to install this update. So that part of the radio project is complete. We received 2 quotes for a 2025 Ford Utility Explorer cruiser purchase. The last cruiser was purchased in 2021. The state bid flip-flop this year in 2025, making the 3.3 liter V6 gas flex fuel engine the standard engine versus the hybrid in the past. And that's a difference of $2,100. So we're going to go with the flex fuel engine, which basically calculating our average miles per gallon, fuel cost per gallon. It would take us 3 years to make up that $2,100 if we were to buy the hybrid. So I think the cost up front is probably worth going with the flex fuel standard engine. We got 2 quotes, one from Montrose Ford in Akron, Ohio, which is $45,034.75, and one from Lebanon Ford, which is $45,564 even. Montrose Ford is $500 cheaper. That's with delivery because they are in Akron, so they'll deliver the cruiser to us. And I personally prefer to go with Montrose. It's cheaper and their quote was much more clear. It stated everything that we had asked for on the bid, where Lebanon Ford just gave us a price. So, one thing to note, in 2021, when we bought a cruiser, that cruiser was $31,000. So this is an increase in 3 years of $15,000 for a cruiser. They are exactly the same. There's no difference. So I'm asking for permission to move forward with this purchase.
Do we need to do anything tonight other than give a permission? Do you want your resolution?
Let's do a resolution. That way he's covered. And then whenever it comes in, it'll have to be outfitted. Yeah, this is just the basic cruiser.
This is the basic cruiser outfitting. Right now we've got 2 quotes. One from Katie Rose for upfitting is $13,200, I think. We found another place that talked to Chief Auger, he uses, They were in Richmond, Indiana. And that quote was significantly lower. I think it was around $9,000. But, the sergeant and I are going to go meet with them, show them what we got, what we have in our cruisers, and make sure they quote us exactly what we're looking for. So,
So we'll approve that one down the road.
yes.
So I think tonight, just do a resolution, make that 54, so that he can go ahead and order the cruiser from Montrose.
I will introduce resolution 2024-54, resolution to purchase the 2025 Ford Explorer Cruiser from Montrose Ford of Akron for a price of $45,034.75.
Do I have a second? Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I will call the roll. Dr. Cross?
Yes.
Mr. Stubbs?
Yes.
Mr. Potter? Yes. Thank you very much. Resolution 2024-54 is adopted.
Just note that we haven't replaced the car in at least 3 years, too. So it's been a while.
It's been a while. We're replacing, the K9 cruiser that no longer has a K9. And it is over 100,000.
Just curious, the last cruiser, how was the upfitting costs that needs to go to dumpster?
Upfitting cost on the last cruiser was $9,600. Yeah, so upfitting is even, well, quite significant.
You want to say your name and address?
Mark Keener, 12102, 12201, State Route 7.
No, I don't think.
I was told at another meeting that all prior and current township employees can use this address for security.
I remember that meeting. That was specious, that comment that she made. No,
Okay, last thing I've got, mark your calendars, German Township, we're planning our national night out for October 1st, which is a Tuesday from 6 to 8 p.m. And we're going to do it at the current Valley View High School. We've discussed this and we're kind of outgrowing this parking lot. And the only way to make things bigger and better for our community is to give room to grow. And we have quite a lineup planned this time around that gives us the opportunity to do a lot more. We're basically going to do everything out front, in front of the high school. So we'll have several vendors, several exhibits, including Germantown Fire, Montgomery County SWAT's going to come down and bring their SWAT vehicle to look at. OSP is going to come down. I invited the road department to bring the equipment out and show their stuff off, show how well they keep it up, because I'm always impressed with how well Jeremy and Scott keep their equipment. They keep them really nice. Care Flight's going to land and do a display. We're going to have a K9 demo. Sergeant Jones has a couple of K9s lined up to come out. The senior center is going to be out there. CERT's going to be out there. Adopt a Pit is going to set up a booth. Montgomery County Public Health, Robin's Nest, which is another pet rescue. We're going to have a dump tank, and our plans to put Marsden in the dump tank because I think that would go.
High school kids will
The
love
high school kids will appreciate that. Sandy's Towing's going to bring out some equipment, and our new Officer Stevens, has a tractor and a trailer, and we're going to do hay rides. So he's going to bring his tractor and trailer out and do hay rides for the kids. And that's a few things. What's that?
He lives in Germantown.
Yeah, he lives in Germantown. Yeah. He's from Carlisle. He was friends with my son, and he was in band with my son, and he was a great kid. He was a really great kid, and he's turned into a fantastic dog. So I'm really happy that we were able to land him as an officer. It's another good addition to our team. We're very picky, in the officers that we hire, very picky. And, we were very fortunate to get him.
So
That's all I've got.
exciting to move to the high school. We talked about it last year.
Yeah.
But just hearing the lineup that you have, it would not fit here.
Yeah.
There's no way. So,
Well, we couldn't land Fairplay.
well, thanks to Valley View for allowing us
Yes.
to use that as well.
Absolutely. That was really nice of them to let us do that.
So quick question, is the SRO all set up for the first part of the year, first time?
The SR is set up for,
It was on the board agenda for the school tonight, I think.
from what I understand from, Superintendent Shore. Yeah, it was, they were gonna talk about it. We did, sign the MOU for our officer, last week. So that's also,
Okay, good. Can I get a copy of that, please?
Okay, you done?
yes, sir.
Thank you. Road Department report, Jeremy?
I'll try to go through this as quickly as I possibly can. Just a few things to report on this month. Scott and I completed the 2024 pavement crack sealing program. This year, we applied 6,750 pounds of sealant, and it was miserable because it was hot and humid, and we figured we walked about 3 miles backwards. So we did get it done, and I think it does do a good job keeping the water from infiltrating the pavement. So, second item is back early in the year, we awarded the 2024 chip seal contract to Ray Hensley Incorporated, which was the low bidder. And they completed the chip sealing of German Township last week. Butter Street from the city limits south to State Route 123 was sealed. Friend Road from Astoria Road west to 13651 was sealed, and Harris Road from Astoria west to 12420 was also sealed. Planning on getting some bids on doing some pavement marking on Friend and Butter here pretty quick. Get those recenter lined so that traffic has something to gauge where the center of the road is. Third item is PO for the new dump truck upfit. Overlooked getting a purchase order for the upfitting of that truck. We did get a purchase order written to Rush Truck for the purchase. But as you remember, I submitted a quote from Gledhill Road Machinery to do the upfitting and just dropped the ball and did not get a PO. So now that the truck has been built and it has been shipped to Gledhill for upfitting, I need to get the board to sign a purchase order for that upfitting. If you remember, back when we brought this up, the total bill for the upfitting was $71,512.92.
And that's Glad Hill.
Gledhill Road Machinery.
We'll make that resolution 55. Somebody like to introduce that? Mr. Potter?
I'd like to introduce a resolution, 2455 to Glad Hill,
Road Machinery.
Road Machinery, for $71,512.92.
For the upfitting of
The upfitting of the new dump truck.
Like a second?
Second?
Any discussion of the resolution? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Dr. Cross?
Yes.
Mr. Stubbs?
Yes.
Mr. Potter?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Resolution 2024-55 is adopted.
Thank you. How soon can I get that purchase order?
Not tonight,
Oh, okay. Any chance I can get it tomorrow? or the next-
probably.
Okay,
Tomorrow's payroll day. I'll not pay you and I'll do
that's fine.
the.
Next item, 2024-25 swap for G salt contract. If you remember, I told you about We got a pretty good price compared to last year through the Southwest Purchasers for Government, which is the consortium that we purchase our de-icing rock salt through. I had an item in here to have the board pass a resolution giving me the approval to sign on behalf of the board. Why not just have one of you guys sign it? Done with that one.
Give us that.
Item 5,
Do we,
we don't need a resolution. We've already budgeted that item.
okay,
So
Fair
it's just basically, the city of Dayton is the lead entity on the consortium that bids out all the salt, and they award it to the lowest bidder. And then now that it's been awarded, that bidder, which is Cargill Salt, wants a written document saying that, yes, we are good for the amount that we, that we're only going to purchase from them, basically. Like to talk to the board about switching from Spectrum to telephone service company for our phone and internet service. Currently, we have Spectrum high-speed internet, which is what all of our phone system runs through, and our high-speed internet. The police department approached me some time ago about having difficulty uploading body cam footage. We are currently with Spectrum, we are on a coax cable, which is limited on speed. Currently we have 1 gigabyte down, which is fantastic, but our upload speed is really bad. I think we're paying for maybe 30 or 40 megs up, which if you think about the amount of video footage that the police department is uploading, it's not sufficient. Our current bill with Spectrum for just phone and internet is $387.24 a month. Telephone service company has quoted us $229 a month, which is roughly a savings of $160, $50 a month to get us 400 megabytes by 400 megabytes. So I think a gigabyte down is overkill for the amount of people that are on the internet here at any one time. Like currently right now, using it to, do what we're doing during the meeting, but even during the day, there might be, 4 people on the internet at one given time. So I think 400 is probably sufficient, and we can always go higher in the future if we find there's a problem. But the biggest difference will be the upload speed. We go from 30 or 40 to 400, and we'll be on a fiber connection instead of a coaxial connection. So it's my recommendation that the board switch from Spectrum. Is it Spectrum Enterprise? Is that is doing it, or just
I
Spectrum?
think it's, just say Spectrum.
Spectrum.
Because it could be Spectrum.
To TFC.
What's actually one of each, Spectrum.
Yeah.
Spectrum.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, because currently our internet, which is I think Spectrum regular, is $149.99, and the phone, which is Enterprise, is $138. So, total that comes out to about $387. So I would recommend that we switch from Spectrum to telephone service company, and that the board give me permission to sign on their behalf if we have to enter a contract with TSC.
Did they run the fiber to the building?
Yeah, the fiber's at
That's
pedestal
great.
on the back. It sets a pedestal out front too, so.
Absolutely. So that'll be number 56 resolution. Somebody want to introduce 56?
Yeah, I'd like to introduce resolution 2024-56. Resolution to switch from Spectrum to TSC
For our internet and phone
for internet phone service.
and to authorize.
Authorizing Jeremy Holbert to sign any associated documents on behalf of the Board of Trustees.
So. Any discussion? Call the roll, Dr. Cross?
Yes.
Mr. Stubbs? Yes. Mr. Potter?
Yes.
Resolution 2024-56 is adopted.
Thank you. And I believe other than Scott and I continue to mow the cemeteries after all the rain we've had, so we kind of slowed down there for the weeks that we were miserable crack sealing, but now we're back there to cemeteries as well. So that's all I have.
All right.
Thank you.
Trustee reports, zoning department.
I was fine, just kidding. I don't have much anyway. First of all, I'm gonna thank Mr. Holbrook, for dealing with that whole phone thing. I know you've spent a lot of time on the phone, paying different companies. I know I appreciate it. Yeah, once you understand it.
Hopefully it
Way better
helps
than
the police department.
yeah, no, we appreciate it. Just,
Saves money too.
yeah, you're great. 2 permits in July, just an ag exempt on Germantown, Middletown, and the cold storage building on Siegel Road. The next regular meeting of the German Township Zoning Commission will be October 8th at 7 PM. I don't believe there's anything on the agenda for the BZA currently, so hopefully we can pick a few months off that. And then just one item for trash. I know I've discussed with you guys about the differences in the bill. After comparing Rumpke's billing list with ours, I asked them to remove from our invoice 24 houses that were either vacant or addresses that didn't exist. And 4 that we were being double billed for. I never heard back from Chandra on that, but I have printed and saved those emails to make sure that happens. I also asked for an updated invoice to reflect those changes, which I have. Since sending out the trash bills, I've gotten back a lot that say unable to be delivered. So I have asked her to remove 17 more for various reasons. Again, I've not heard anything back, but I figure I'd rather just have them stop picking up, and then if something goes wrong, I can find out why those bills are coming back to me, and we can restart trash service. So that's quite a few houses that we shouldn't be getting charged for, and I'm not paying that bill till we receive an updated invoice.
Yeah, that's been a couple weeks since you
Yep.
had reached out.
She will respond to me if I say, hey, new pickup location here, they need a trash can. Great, I'll get that on the list. But as far as, could you please remove these houses? And I sent her with each address,
Yeah.
such and such, such. This address doesn't exist, or this is a field, there's no house. So I gave her a reason for every single one. She doesn't respond to those. We'll see where that goes. I just want to kind of give you guys an update.
I'm waiting for the phone call from the.
From the guy saying, where's our money?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I will.
Again, I have all
I'll
the-
refer them to you, but I will refer to your conversation.
I have all the emails saved in a folder that says Township versus Rocky.
Good for you. Thank you for your help.
That's all I got.
All right, trustee reports, Mr. Potter.
Yeah, for the pool this year, or this month, for the pool, most part, is all's going good. They did have a issue with the new filter system. Just so happened happened there at a time when Jason was certified on and trained on the system. He was on vacation. So that pool ended up being closed for 1 day. Judy did talk to me about that, and I talked to her, told her that I feel that we need to have a backup person that is trained from Jason. Never know what could happen if he was to quit or to get hurt, was unable to be there. So that's the only thing with the pool. The park, Mark, we did talk to, trying to get a committee together for the 2026 250 year celebration. We did talk about that the other day. I talked to Ron Wind. He has talked to a person in charge of the issue 2 money and supposed to have a meeting with her this week or next to go over all the criteria for the application. Should have a draft for that for the September meeting. AEDs that they have been discussing for several months at the park. This past week or 2, Governor DeWine has now mandated that all parks has a defib. So they are waiting to see exactly what that means. Technically, we have 5 parks in the city. But they will start with the Kircher and Weber, so they know that's for sure. But they're actually 5 parks. Does all mean all, or what that exactly means. MMI, we had a meeting with the Pretzel Festival. people in the church and the city at the city building concerning the parking at the MMI. The church has volunteered to take care of the parking at the church and at the MMI, so it should go a lot better this year than it has in the past years. We received a plaque. We received the plaque for the MMI portion that will be placed on the column. That will be up at the top of the hill to show where the buildings was. We got three of there's 7 total monuments, memorials, I should say. And we are putting a 6x6 that's 6.5 foot wide by 8 foot long, filled with stone. And then there'll be a boulder there with a monument of the 7 fallen cadets from. So we got 3 of those placed. I'll get the other 4 built this week, and they'll all be up by the rest of the festival. And that's all for now.
Mr. Stubbs?
Hey, just a few things tonight. As Jeremy already said, the extra rain equaled extra mowing for the cemetery, so they were having fun keeping up with that. Keith attended the Ohio Cemetery Association meeting this past month, came back with a lot of good information, ways to improve. It seems that cemeteries are, most of them are getting websites, and the way that current sales go is by people doing it online and not seeing anybody in person. So not that we're going to do that now, but it's something to look at in the future. Another thing he showed us tonight was they're placing, there's a company that, I don't know if I have it or kept it, but there was a company that places QR codes on headstones that you can get this, like a little QR code that sticks right on there. And then this company sells you this, and you buy it, you can upload pictures, slideshow, whatever. So I would scan it with my phone, and I would have a video of the person that you chose to recognize that way. So that was something he brought up. I don't know if we're gonna go that direction, but that was a pretty cool idea, I thought. That you can see more than just the name and date. You can see a life story. Lastly, he came back with other good information too that we're gonna work through in the next couple months, but it was definitely good for us to send him there. And to meet people around from other cemeteries. I think he went to, just slipped my mind, Cincinnati, the big one in Cincinnati.
Spring Grove.
Spring Grove, yes, couldn't think of the name. Spring Grove, he says 700 some acres. It's the second biggest in the country.
Beautiful cemetery.
So that's where he went for part of his tour. They do things a little different than we do. They got a slightly bigger budget, so. But it was neat for him to be able to see how they do things and why they do things, and give him ideas for even our small cemetery going forward. Lastly, on September 21st, there will be a dedication to Philip Nagley at the cemetery. He was a Revolutionary War patriot, and there will be a plaque put on his or near his stone on that day. It is at 10 a.m. if anybody would like to attend.
What's his name again?
Philip Nagley.
Philip Nagley. How do you spell Nagley?
Negley.
Thank you.
And that concludes, yes, that concludes my report.
Great, thank you. So my report, I met with Jeremy and Scott Hamilton on 7/17 to inspect the progress of the Twin Creek project at Kirkwood Park and areas of Little Twin Creek along Little Twin Road. Scott and Jeremy agreed that the Twin Creek project was achieving its goals, depending on what grant money is available, may help decide on whether to go ahead with the Little Twin Creek restoration. I attended the Senior Oversight Committee meeting on 7/11. Overall operations are going well. There's 235 members currently. On May 24th, a member ran into the side of the building. The repair cost is $21,100, and it's being covered by the member's insurance. There's quite a bit of discussion about repairs needed for the senior center. Ms. Erisman presented a list of items she felt needed attention as soon as possible. It was stated that $50,000 had been budgeted for repairs this year. Most pressing needs involve the back entrance, replace the pergola, repair concrete on walkway, replace back fence, touching up landscaping, repair around the door, replace drain lines around foundation that is currently holding water. The committee agreed to use the $50,000 to do as many repairs this year as possible. I spoke with Pat Shiley from the city discussing using the Nella Judy gift money to pay for repairs. So I don't know why they don't actually do it, because that was a huge gift, and that's what it's supposed to be used for. So I don't really understand why they have to go to the city to ask for that $50,000, because they got plenty of money in their account. But they don't pull it out separately like they do the Township, the Township fund. It's all part of the same fund. So even though the senior center only brings about $9,000 per year, the fund has $622,000.
They didn't set it in a separate.
They didn't set it, so, which would have made it pretty easy if they could have just drawn on that to have all those repairs done.
Did the city, it's in the city's account for the senior.
Right,
So
that's.
It was,
It's in their general fund.
the request was specifically for the senior center.
Right.
Are there restrictions beyond that?
No, there was no restrictions from what I understand. They could use it for anything they want.
Specifically for the senior center.
It's just specifically for the senior center. Yeah, so, but anyway, I thought that was kind of, if money's there, it's what's supposed to be used for. Anyway, so I went to the Germantown Council meeting last Monday. Scott Davies was recognized as the new law director. Amy Schmidt from Fishback Engineering updated the cover bridge project. Estimated cost is now $960,000. Estimated cost to the city is $278,184. Fire EMS is replacing its 2009 ambulance, was budgeted at $300,000. Total cost will be $326,850. So I don't know what the extra money is. During the work session, Police Chief Burns discussed some projects for the future that are not yet funded, including a drone with thermal imaging capability and flock cameras, which you probably know more. And State Route 4 and Butter Street that have the capability of reading license plate and images to help with stolen cars, Amber Alerts, etc.
What is it called?
Flock, FLOCK.
FLOCK.
And that is all I have. Any questions for you?
Check report.
When you looked at Little Twin, did you look at the section there just north of Harshberger Bridge?
What is that? You're talking about the twin?
Little Twin.
Yes.
Okie dokie, any old business? Any new business? Could I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Hold on, oops. Yeah,
Can you come up front, please, so that they can hear you on the recording?
Name and address.
Mark Jones, 12255 Harris Road. Sorry, I'm missing half a foot there. I called into the township lady about the trash. I've never had my trash collected at Harris Road. I've always paid the bill. I have a dumpster for my business. I'm not going to pay $70 for something I'm not using. I don't even have a trash can for them to use to pick up. She said I had to direct it to you, Jake. What do I do about opt out? I called Rumpke on the number. Some man there, I didn't get his name, said I could opt out. She says I can't.
I don't.
Montgomery County.
Montgomery County has a requirement. If you're in a different county, you could opt out, but Montgomery County, you can't opt out. Everyone has to be.
But I got my trash being picked by Republic Trash. Why do I got to pay Rumpke for something they're not doing?
No, I get that.
I'm not going to pay it. Period.
So
I'm not lying to you. I'm not going to pay it no more.
I have a dumpster. I have to pay the $70 a month.
She said she had bills that she's not going to pay to Rumpke. Yeah, I just sit here and listen about the trash deal.
They're billing us for
They're
property.
billing us for properties and
Don't
don't
accept.
exist.
They're not.
Well, I have a property existing. They don't pick up. So why should I have to?
Pickup issues, then you need to contact them and let them.
I have.
Well, then you need to let, I mean, we can.
I'm not going to pay it. I have a dumpster I'm using that I pay $130 a month.
I understand your frustration.
I literally.
Is there a law that says I have to pay?
Montgomery County.
I want a copy of that law that says I have to pay that. Give me a copy of that law.
We can look it up, but Montgomery County is.
Print it for me.
I will have to look it up. I have Right? What do you mean to do?
I don't think you could make somebody do, I don't understand how you can make me pay for something I'm not using.
Montgomery, okay.
What happened to our rights?
Ask Montgomery County. That's the
I'm
problem.
asking you because you're supposed to be a part of the township. She told me you was ahead of it. So I'm directing my problem to you.
Okay. Montgomery County requires trash pickup from every property.
Mine's being picked up, but it ain't going by Rumpke. What's it matter who gets it? Is there a law that says Rumpke only can pick it up?
We have a contract with the town.
I don't have a contract. You do.
The township,
I ain't signed nothing.
the township contract, we have to bill every property in.
How much do you make off Rumpke for this bill? She says you make nothing.
We don't make any, we barely cover the costs.
How much does the township make?
Yeah.
We bill slightly higher to cover her time and for the
So
mailing.
you're making something. She
No,
told
we're
me
not
nothing.
making
You want me to
anything.
volunteer my time to do the trash bills?
That's how it
That's
pays.
a lot of.
But what I want to know is, okay, I'm not trying to be a hard ass here. I'll excuse my language, but I'm very upset about this.
You weren't the only one, I assure you.
Well, I'm not going to pay this bill because I've been paying it for years that they've never picked up. They've never got it. Now, to me, $70 every 3 months, $23 a month, they ain't a lot of money. But for something that you're not using, you're not getting anything out of. And I'm already paying $130 a month for my dumpster. No, I'm not going to pay it.
But let me ask you this. Is there a way of having Rumpke pick it up with the dumpster and then that cost go toward that?
No,
Is there a way of doing that?
But it's not Rumpke's dumpster. I got the
I
public.
know, can we get Rumpke dumpster is what I guess is what I'm getting at. Have Rumpke pick it up. I'm not thinking of what John Longwood does across the street.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Rumpke truck goes back. See a Rumpke truck go back there and
Yeah,
pick
mine
up
was
the
public. That's
pick
all.
up the dumpster. I'm just asking, maybe we can switch from Republic to Rumpke, and then your $70 will go toward your.
Well, I
your
understand
dumpster.
it, but I mean, you gotta understand how I feel. I've never had them got my trash ever.
I understand that, but what we're just trying to say is Montgomery County requires every resident to pay this. That's how,
Yeah.
that's what we're required to do, if I
Yeah,
understand.
and then when we put our
Why does the residents not get a choice on voting on
It's
this?
like you don't get a choice on voting on your taxes. I don't really know.
So-
Yeah, that's like Montgomery County's a rip off of that.
Montgomery
So
County,
I'm trying to see if we can maybe have this money go toward your
Yeah.
dumpster, if Rumpke could possibly provide your dumpster instead of Republic. That's all.
so
That's something we
But
could.
then I gotta get out of a contract I'm with them.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just trying to think of an alternative.
I know, I'm just saying, right now, I don't care what you do, I'm not gonna pay for something I'm not using. It's just that, it's that simple.
Understand.
I mean, I'm paying enough now, I'm paying $500 some a month on my farm for property tax. You know,
Yeah, I pay a lot more than that.
that's also the county.
well, that's just one property.
I know. We do.
I got 5 in Montgomery County,
So do I.
so I'm paying all, that's ridiculous.
I know. I'm just trying to work something out here.
So the township chooses the trash pickup. You go out to bid. Last time we did this, Rumpke was the only people to bid. That's why we have Rumpke.
Who was the people who supplied the blue cans with the yellow lids?
Waste
Like,
management.
No.
Yeah, see,
It's a waste management.
Well, I still got, we didn't have them a week or two, then it was Rumpke. Because
That was before.
I didn't even use the chain, I didn't even use the can. They dropped them off and the can's still in my barn.
Yeah, I've still got that one too, but that was before I was here. I don't know who that was, but we're currently, so we're going to go out to bid next year. And hopefully we can get Waste Management and Republic to bid as well. Because they did.
Because they also, public goes across the street to my neighbor and gets his dumpster too.
Yeah. But I understand why you're upset, but our hands are tied here because.
So what happens if I don't pay, I keep not paying?
It will go into your taxes.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Well, that's why I'm trying to see if we can't figure out a way of go through Rumpke picking up your
But you
dumpster.
still have to pay the.
You'd have to pay both. You'd have to
Yeah.
pay the dumpster.
We have a
and the
Rumpke,
resident.
we have a Rumpke dumpster and we've had to pay the.
Dumpster and
70.
the resident.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, answer my question.
Okey dokey. Anybody else?
Gotta love the guns.
reforms.
If we have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned at 9 o'clock even.
Thanks everyone for hanging in there.